you thought the people that worked here were a plague of locusts or a pack of gannets, you should see Blake, Stephen Humphrey, Ollie, and he just devoured the final two macaroons, and they are very tasty, aren't they, guys?
They were fantastic.
I'm glad you warned me about that nut allergy before I had it, though.
Yeah, that's fine. And then there were two.
I can barely speak. they're that chewy and delicious.
Yes, but you only have to sing. So you're right there doing new stuff. Let's first of all, we'll mention this again later. So you're looking for a choir to join you in Bracknell. Is this a mixed choir or?
Well, it's something that people who've been to our shows before will have seen. We always try and find a local choir to join us. So if someone's listening and their children sing in a choir, or if you're part of a community choir, it's really to get local singers to come and join the show.
So they actually would form the choir rather than being an existing choir?
Way better if they are an existing choir. Yeah, so that's easier. But they'll come and sing 4 songs with us, things like Ness and Dormer and Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. Plus we give them a chance to do a solo song themselves. And then hopefully friends and family come and watch as well. So it's a chance to get some local singers involved.
So what sort of size choir do you look for that fit on the stage?
Well, we have all sorts. We have from quite sort of semi-professional choirs of 15 up to huge choral societies of 40 or 50 even we've had on stage with us before.
But Bracknell's quite a smaller stage. So I think if we sort of limit you to 30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 30
It's amazing,
will be the max.
When we think back over we've been together for 8 years now coming up, and we have been touring like this for the last 6, and we probably tour with 40 different choirs a year. And you think how many are in each choir, you can sort of do the maths of that. It's thousands of different singers who've been on stage, and it's really good fun. It's part of the show that we absolutely adore, because it's the one thing for us that's different everywhere we go. Because otherwise, if you're doing the same show each night, although the track changes a bit, you are essentially doing the same thing. So it's nice to mix it up, and actually it's very good, and it means that everything is different.
Yeah. We keep getting lovely messages from people, and because we've been doing it for so long, some of the kids that were singing in choirs 5 years ago, some of those kids are now actually on the West End in London, or they're studying at big music colleges, or they're overseas. We've had others that said they're now singing on cruises and things like that. It's lovely to think that maybe singing on stage with Blake the first time, or one of their first times on a professional stage,
didn't put them off for life.
Put them off, and has led on to other things.
It's good. I mean, I had someone in a while back, and we were chatting, and he said, "You don't remember me, do you?" He said, "I was in your first stage musical." I said, "Oh my golly, yeah, so it is." Yeah, people do. But I mean, they all have Blake on their CVs now, won't they? All these choirs.
Well, they may choose to admit that.
I don't think so. So how do you select them? I mean, do they come onto your website and you pick somebody? I mean, you're clearly not going to go and sit there and do a Simon Cowell.
No. So what we normally do is we ask a choir to write to us. Either go onto the website blakeofficial.com, and you can find contact details on there, and then we try and get them to send us a clip, either a recording or a YouTube clip of something they've done before, because they're also going to have to learn some songs. As I was saying, we do 4 songs with the choir, so they've got to learn the music to that. And then hopefully have a little showstopper up their sleeves as well, which they get to do at the beginning of the second half.
Because we have quite a few people who lead choirs in here as well, so I'm sure they'll be listening. They'll be chomping at the bit and going onto the website.
Yeah, get in touch. It's a great experience for them. It's great for us to have new faces involved, and it makes for a really fun evening.
Yeah, and they all have to go and get their stuff done at the dry cleaners and get
glammed up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we get a lot of surprises actually. Sometimes
the different outfits.
Yeah, you get all the kids' schools, and they're all in their school uniforms on stage, which is quite nice. They're very proud to wear their ties, that kind of thing. And then you get through to the kind of elderly lady choral societies, where they seem to always wear glittery silver things. So you've got glitter balls all along the back of the stage. So we get a variety. I think black would be nice though, just a simple black.
Dressed up, whatever it is, make an effort.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you know which songs you get to do? Ness and Dormer?
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, we do about 5 songs with choir. So we do Ness and Dormer and Hallelujah, which we mentioned. Ness and Dormer always gets a good cheer.
Yeah.
And then we tend to do a Joe Cocker song, Up Where We Belong, at the end of the gig. And normally, if we're lucky enough to get an encore, we do Jerusalem. And we make the whole audience stand up and sing it as well. Guaranteed standing ovation, you see. It's very clever, that.
Works every time.
Excellent. And also, actually, we've done a new single recently of that old classic, You Raise Me Up, the Londonderry Air, from Westlife, which we did with a fantastic choir made up entirely of ladies from a cancer charity called Breast Cancer Campaign, and they were all suffering or recently suffered or healed from breast cancer themselves. So that was a very touching choir that we created.
Actually, you mentioned Londonderry. I had to read at a memorial service last week up at Grantchester in Cambridge. And I was fine. I had to do the old Vicarage Grantchester River Brook.
I know, yeah.
And I was fine. Nudged the vicar out of the way, got in the pulpit, did it. And you don't want to look at anybody in case you go. So I thought I'd just focus on that and did it. And I was fine until one lone chorister sang Danny Boy at the end.
It gets you every time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's actually very, very tough singing at funerals. I had to sing it at a friend of a friend's the other day.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we've got this song that we want you to sing, A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square. And I said, that's fine. It was a cremation, so the coffin came into the room and was there in the centre of the room, and everybody's fixed. A stare was fixed on this coffin. And then the minister explained the story behind it and said, well, Joyce, she originally got married in 1937, and her husband was duly killed in the war 4 years later. And she never married again, and always had his picture by the side of the bed, and she listened to Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square every night because it was their song. And now Stephen's going to sing it. They set it up like that. It is very, very difficult. So it's hard to know where to look, whether to look at the kind of congregation or to the coffin. It was hard.
The tragedy is in that situation you have to think objectively. And think of something completely different, which is probably not in the spirit of the moment, but in order to get through it, you have to do it.
Well, we get it sometimes in the...
Tax returns work very, very well.
We get it in the show, though, sometimes, because we do some really emotional songs, things like Bring Him Home from Les Mis, and You Raise Me Up, obviously, with its connection to breast cancer. And you look out and there are people, very, very emotional in the audience, crying. And sometimes if it catches you start to well up as well, and like you say, you have to really think about something random to switch the emotion off.
You've got to try and be very professional, which is hard to do when you get lost in the music.
It is, and I think music probably does it more than speech. You hear somebody talking, but when certain very, very evocative songs...
absolutely.
Well, it's like they always say about films, isn't it? If you watch a film without a soundtrack, it doesn't really mean anything.
You're right, like watching a football match with no crowd.
Yeah, absolutely right. What is this? And suddenly you put it on. And
different types of songs, obviously.
AC/DC's never made me weepy, so
you're going to get people phoning in now saying, shut up, AC/DC, I cry to it every night.
Good stuff. We'll chat with Stephen Humphrey and Ollie Blake a bit more in a moment. In the meantime, here are the boys.
When the evening shadows and the stars appear, and there's no one there to dry your tears, I could hold you for 1,000,000 years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I would never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment
nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of the earth for you, to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love.
That's wonderful. That's a beautiful version. That's great. Well,
Thank
how do
you.
you decide when you sit down and think, what shall we do? Do you just go through it and see if it works? If it doesn't, you junk it.
That's
Kind
the
of.
right. That's the right way to do it. No, we normally just tend to get a big list of songs and just go through them, and between each of us discuss the relative merits and whether, more importantly than anything else, whether it works for harmony. Because there are some great songs out there.
Yeah.
And people often write to us on Twitter and Facebook saying, please can you cover this, or please can you cover that, because that's what we're known for doing, covering
Yeah.
songs. And some of them we just have to turn around and go, no, that song's famous because their voice made it famous. It's that unique sound.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
if we do it in harmony, it's not going to add anything to it. So we have to be very careful about what we pick.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sometimes it calls for solo, and it's one of those songs where harmony doesn't really lend itself. Or indeed, there's an awkward harmony where it's when you're trying to find a harmony, that's when it probably doesn't need one.
Yeah.
Exactly right. That's a very fair point, actually. And particularly with a lot of pop songs, you sort of. I mean, we had this when we did our fourth record a couple of years ago, and we had some American producers who came over to help us with it. It was a very novel approach for us, and they were both constantly being quite minimal and sort of saying, well, actually, I don't like that because it doesn't need it. And we were saying, well, there are four of us. We've got to try and use four voices. So we had to find this new approach where we didn't exaggerate the music if it doesn't need it. You just give it what, only what it needs and nothing more. And we're going through the same process at the moment, actually, with our fifth album, which will hopefully be out in October.
Right. Are you recording at the moment?
Yeah, we are still choosing, actually,
Yeah,
and we're still arranging stuff.
Yeah.
I'll tell my publisher.
I was about to say, if there are any really budding songwriters out there, we've got
Send them
Mike
through.
Batt has stepped up to the.
That's it.
the
Well, I'll
plate.
step up to the plate as well.
Well, please do.
Stuff. Mike's a great writer. Yeah, I like Mike because he puts his money where his mouth is. He has a go at stuff, and I like that. He's very good. But when he puts his voice on it, it's Mike Batt. If he does the backing vocals, it's Mike. With his bright eyes, whatever it is, you can hear it. It's
He
great.
has a unique voice.
Yes.
You can always tell it's him. It's
Yeah.
very true.
See, if I were to suggest now one, I'd say I'd love to hear you singing "The Way You Look Tonight," Jerome Kern, Dorothy Fields.
Interesting.
Do you do that one?
Yeah, no.
Not at the moment, no.
You nearly said yes, then. You
Mind.
nearly walked into it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, we've done a lot of sort of Billy Joel in the past, and
Yeah.
a couple of Leonard Cohen songs, things like that. So that sort of period of, if you like, sort of ballad and romance, sort of does lend itself very much to harmony sound. I
Yeah, we were talking earlier about "You Belong to Me." Da 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 da. Great song. Great for you.
Yeah.
We should be writing these down.
Well,
Yes,
I was
yeah,
just going to
yeah.
say, can we get your listeners just to send in their suggestions now? I mean, they've heard one of our songs.
They were.
Perhaps they fancy.
They won't be better than
tweeting
those
you.
two suggestions.
Not saying that wasn't good.
They'll
but
come up with all sorts.
That was
of
rather
things.
lovely.
Yeah.
You should come and do some. You can come and lend some harmonies to it
In the choir, yeah.
Well, no,
in the studio.
I think.
Yeah, that bass, yeah. Who's sings bass with you?
Stephen tends to.
Yeah,
do
Stephen,
this,
yeah.
Oh well, we can. It's
You can
take
take
that
Good,
turn.
good,
growl
bit of
words.
bass baritone, yeah. I mean, that used to be the big voice in the doo-wop days. The king wasn't the tenor. I mean, I always wanted a tenor voice, never had one.
Yeah.
But the king was the bass man.
Yeah.
It was the guy. Dum, doo, 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 dum. He was the king. That was the one they all looked to.
Yeah, that's very true.
How things have changed. Now it's
Yeah.
all,
Oh,
now
I
it's
know.
all about
It's those good
screechy tenors.
vibrations.
As the Ponytails once said, "Born too late." Yeah. But you have sung in some amazing places. I mean, it's really. I mean, the Great Wall of China is. I know 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, Olivia Newton-John did a charity walk along there, took people over. So it's one of those iconic places that people gravitate to.
Yeah.
I mean, what's it like? Where did the audience come from?
Well,
We just picked an audience at random. That was the great thing about it. We were up there and we'd been hiking along it ourselves.
I could barely
Although
sing. I was so out of breath.
It is an impressive structure, but I will say this for the Great Wall of China: there are no two steps at the same height.
yeah.
So as you try and march along it, it's very, very difficult.
That's
So by the time we
exactly
got
the
to the point of singing, we were totally out of breath. But we gave it a go because we thought this is the one opportunity to do this. We'll never get it again.
Oh,
And